Another season is upon us. Freshmen arrive wide-eyed with dreams of future glory, while seniors prepare for their last chance at immortality. There are only a handful of these opportunities in a man's life, a handful of chances to distinguish yourself from the rest. It's on these fields where history is made, where legends begin and heroes triumph. Traditions tell the story of what you represent, of those that forge the legacy you uphold. When you come charging out of the tunnel, 100,000 people will be watching your every move. How you respond to that pressure is what defines you. These are the moments that reveal your toughness, your determination, and your pride. The Roughnecks on the Sooner Schooner. Ralphie charging out of the gate. And Chief Osceola planting his spear. The time has come. Your time is now.
You know, there are certain type of moments in every man's life where it requires you to have courage and requires you to have bravery, whether it's trying a brand new thing that's a little bit out of that comfort zone, whether it's asking out that girl that is just way out of your league, but sometimes that ball don't lie. And sometimes you got to throw in that long shot bet ticket, turn a few dollars into a gourmet meal down the road. And that's what tonight's is all about, talking about bold predictions that you have, something that you genuinely believe in, something that you would genuinely put money on as well. And that's what it's all about. And I'm joined by my co-host Reed as well. Brother, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm not gonna lie, you hit the nail right on the head right there. If you back it up with money and then it hits, like that's double the pleasure. You know what I mean? Like, because you were correct and you win money on top of it. You know, I might even put myself out there of, you know, having an outlandish bet, but you know, I believe in it. So we'll see. We'll get into it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, even if it's you know, someone has to every once in a while, you got to put down that plus 2,000 bet slip at the bare minimum, or even like you got like a few cents of like just sitting around in FanDuel. You know, got to get it to a nice round number in the bank account. So it's like, let me throw in a plus 10,000. That's what tonight's all about. Your guys' bold predictions, man. So I'm excited to get into this. I'm glad that we're going to make this hopefully a tradition here on the channel moving forward. Yes. First time that we're ever doing this, and depending on the feedback, we might have a part 2 as well. So, hey, hopefully you guys are excited. Whether you're watching on my channel, whether you're watching over on Love for the Game podcast, and that's his socials over down below as well. So make sure you check him out on top of that. And guys, if you're excited, man, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, it's much appreciated. It warms up my cold dead heart. It warms up his cold dead heart in the process, doing all those things. And so, bold predictions, man. I will say this, and I kind of alluded to this earlier on the show in the intro. This is not just throwing anything and everything. Those things where you're just sitting there and you're actually going forward and like you're actually, no kidding, this is what you genuinely believe. This is what you would throw money on. This is something that, you know, there's some substance behind those beliefs, right? So we're going to do a star rating system going from 1 star to 5 stars, with 1 star being, hey, we actually think this is going to happen no matter what. And then 5 stars being, you are out of your mind. You need to go get drug tested for throwing that kind of take out there in front of us. And how I like to do it as well, you know, I asked on Twitter, hey, what is the boldest take that you have? And so how I thought I was going to do it is I was going to go based off of what was the most popular tweet that I saw in the replies. And then I realized something, Reed.
What did you realize?
I realized that you were coming on the show here tonight, so I figured it only makes sense that I throw a bold take that's going to raise your blood pressure a little bit. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead, jump into the first one. First one does come from our boy Updog Sports Talk, talking about Temple beating Penn State again. And it would be the first time that this happened since 2015. Reed, I know you're probably going to be at least a 5-star. You might break the scale, but I'm just curious with where your head's at when you saw this. Bless the replies when I was asking for those boldest takes, my man.
Yeah, see, Updog, you know, hold on. Let me compose myself real quick. You know, Updog, he's one of the most, you know, he's one of the most faithful, you know, commenters, and he replies to almost all our tweets, retweets a bunch of our stuff. So we appreciate him and the support that he shows the both of us. But my guy, this I mean, you said we're ranking stuff on a 5-star scale. This is like a 10 out of 5. We're doubling the scale for this one, solely because in 2015, when Temple did beat Penn State, they beat the Penn State JV team, where we were basically a shamble of a football program at that point, you know, coming off of everything that happened in the early 2010s. But I digress. So, you know, I'm glad that Temple could beat our JV team with literally the best team that they had assembled in the school's history, PJ Walker at quarterback, namely. So, you know, I'm glad that Temple was able to accomplish such a feat. But last time I checked, Penn State travels pretty well, and Temple and Philadelphia is basically State College B, 1A, 1B. So, you know, good luck with that. But I'm putting this as a 10 out of 5. You know, this is complete blasphemy. And the fact he had to say again, you know, is like flashbacks for me. But, you know, shout out to Updog.
Yeah, and you know what? You know, speaking of that 2015 team, you know, guess who was the head coach of that Temple football squad that ended up taking down Penn State, as well as had some pretty memorable moments in the mid 2010s as well.
One of our own.
We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Rhule.
One of our own.
You know, funny how things have changed, but this is not going to be one of those hot, bold takes that is going to earn an opportunity to get an NIL donation down the line. I sat down and thought about this, and I thought I was going to be with you, Reed, for a second. You know, I think with how much talent Penn State has, and you know, Temple is still trying to work its way up under KCQ, or I thought I was going to be with you. I thought this was going to be blasphemy. I thought I was a little flabbergasted, even including the video. You know, really including the video in there. You know, I had to crop it out because it didn't look good in the screenshot, but even including the video, just you know, not twisting the knife, right? I ended up going with 4 stars, 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I'm going for a couple of different reasons. I do think that, at least on my spring record predictions, it is a safe win for Penn State. I have Penn State as a 20-point favorite over Temple, even with them going on the road. But a couple of things lead me to believe that it's not impossible that this is going to happen. The biggest, most important part of Penn State's season is Penn State has to take care of business in conference play, especially making sure that they get some signature wins, especially going up against potentially a Michigan, for example. That's going to be an important game. USC at Washington. There's important games in there that they're going to have to win in order to be in the conversation ultimately for the college football playoff, which is what you're hoping for in year number 1 under Matt Campbell. So all of those games happening before that, it's easy for Penn State, if they're not in the right headspace, to overlook the Temple football team, a Temple football team that we did end up talking about as a potential squad that, you know, could be a better team. So it's possible that they could be overlooked, especially if they had shades of inconsistency issues like they did last year.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny it. I mean, Penn State can't sleepwalk into this game. You're playing a college football game. You're playing a Division I college football game. Like, I'm not saying they're just going to walk on the field and automatically get a win. Now, do I have Penn State 80 spots higher than Temple in my 138 ranking? Yeah, I do. Do I have them as a 22-point favorite on the road? Yeah, I do. But, you know, again, nothing is nothing is granted, nothing is given to you, especially in the current landscape of college football. So I'm not saying that, Penn State's going to walk on the field and automatically have a win, but that's essentially what's going to happen here. So
yeah, and that's the other reason why I couldn't go to full 5 stars as of right now either. Is I look at this Temple team, and what Temple is at least going to be at home, and they're going to be comfortable in their own facilities. Albeit you're probably going to see a situation where Penn State is probably going to have more fans at the game than Temple is going to be.
Yeah.
But Penn State still has to travel, and that will be their first somewhat true road game of the year. So it gives me a little bit of pause in terms of, there is a world, there's a scenario where if they're sleepwalking into this game, which would be easy to do in the month of September, given what that non-conference schedule is for the Nittany Lions, that Temple can pull this off. Now, do I expect them to pull this off? And do I even expect them to be competitive going into this game? I don't necessarily think it's going to be a super competitive game. I mean, you and I both talked about we have Penn State as 3 touchdown favorites. So neither of us are necessarily expecting it to be a really competitive game. But there's a world out there where Temple shows up ready to play. And that's a third thing, too. This is going to be Temple Super Bowl in the non-conference.
Oh, for sure.
So Penn State's going to get Temple's best shot. Are we going to see Penn State's best performance against Temple? That we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and just to allude to a previous point that you made, we literally saw this last season. Penn State did not look great in their non-conference schedule that they had to open up the season. They came out sluggish. They looked flat on offense. I mean, the defense looked good at times. They had their own, lackadaisical moments. So, I mean, to your point, Jake, we can't, as a Penn State fan, they can't sleepwalk into this, game, into any of the non-conference games, even though they are, they're playing G6 opponents. So, I would think that Penn State opens up as a 3 touchdown favorite in the books, maybe slightly below that, but I truly don't see this happening. For realistic purposes, I'm going to put this at a 5. I know you put it at 4. I'm going to put it at a 5.
Yeah, I will say this about Penn State. I think the Temple game is going to be the most difficult game. I think that's when it comes to the non-conference. Yeah. I think Temple is better than Marshall at this time. I think they're also better than Buffalo, given what we've seen last year as well as some of the offseason moves that we're talking about. I know that we've mainly been talking in terms of what do these teams look like in the scope of their own conference, but now that we're getting into like a more national, holistic picture, I do think that that's going to be the most challenging game that they see in the month of September in the non-conference. So we'll see. If it does happen, I mean, it's going to be a crazy day on Twitter. It is going to be a day where we're going to see Reed hide in the bunker amongst some other very avid and vocal like Penn State fans as well.
I might delete that. Might delete that. I might just delete my account. I might delete my profile. How do I come back from that?
Yeah,
I'd get clipped. Like I already know Colton would clip it and put it out on his page. Like there's literally no coming back from that. That would literally be my worst beat ever.
Yeah, and I expect it happening right now. I'm pretty sure a Colton or like an AT who can't join us here tonight. They're probably they're working in the shadows and they're playing on their downfalls tonight. Especially if some of these other more outlandish bold takes that you guys have to end up hitting.
I already know Colton has the clip locked and loaded. I already know he does.
All right, but hey, let's move on. We have a few more that we do have. There's 4 more that I want to get into. Definitely want to leave some in the chamber for if we want to do a part 2 of bold predictions.
Yes.
And this one actually was the most liked tweet on Twitter. It's from Ball State Rise. And he said that Ball State will win the MAC in the 2026 college football season. For me, a little bit spicier than Temple being Penn State. But I don't have this as a 5-star. I have this at 4.5. And I'm saying this as someone, and I've talked about Ball State on my channel previously. Not just from when we did the conference breakdowns as a group, but doing individual breakdowns here as we get into the latter part of the spring. I look at Ball State. I think it's a 2-10 football team. But I did also mention in that individual breakdown at the same time that if we do end up seeing that transfer portal class, that is a lot of potential versus a lot of production. Let's say they live up to that potential collectively as a group and then some. Now all of a sudden you're talking about a team that is going to be much better than that 2-10. I had a ceiling of 8-4, only one of those losses coming in conference play if that ceiling does hit. And so 7-1 in conference play, at that point you're in Detroit and it's only one more game you have to win. You have a puncher's chance. But I don't trust that all of those moving pieces in transfer portal are going to mesh right now, which is why I was so low on them from a record perspective. I do see a world where it can happen, but I have it at 4.5. It's not a 5, but I have a hard time seeing this happening, but it's not impossible either.
I would also have to go with the 4.5 just solely because it is the MAC. Literally anything can happen. So I'm also going to put it at 4.5. I also project Ball State to be a 2-10 football team, and not to bash on Ball State Rise here. He's a loyal follower to both of us, but they're the third worst team in my projections as of right now. So it's going to be an uphill climb. I mean, their non-conference isn't anything to look over. They open up at Ohio State and then also have Liberty out of conference. So it's definitely gonna be an uphill climb for Ball State, I think. You pointed it out, like mass portal turnover for this team coming into 2026 from the roster that they had last season. So I definitely am not that high on Ball State. Obviously, Ball State Rise seems like a bit of a biased account here. So I'm not going to try to bash on him too much, but it's definitely going to be an uphill climb for Ball State coming into next season. And that's without a doubt.
Yeah, and I will say this about Ball State, just specifically talking about their conference slate. I do think that they have a favorable conference schedule once you get into the thick of things in conference play. Once you leave really the month of September, we know what that non-conference schedule is going to look like. Multiple Big Ten teams, Liberty on the road as well. Liberty, I think we're going to be a touch better than 4-8, I would imagine. But then you really take a look at this conference schedule. They do at least avoid Miami of Ohio, and they avoid Western Michigan completely. So that's the two top teams that I have right now in terms of just a pure roster talent perspective. I think those are the two top teams in this conference. And then the two better teams that they have on their schedule, Toledo and Central Michigan, they do have them at home, which is a nice advantage. They also have Sacramento State at home as well, and that's a Sacramento State team that's going to have to travel literally across the country. And that's going to be around a time where, like the midweek action games are going to start as well. So I believe that might be like a Tuesday or Wednesday game. I didn't do a discount double check on that, but that's right around that time. The road games are somewhat navigable outside of Ohio. Really, Ohio is really the only game that I'm looking at is I don't think Ball State would win that game, even if the ceiling does hit. But then the other road games, Bowling Green, they're still trying to find themselves under Eddie George. Kent State, that they were a better team last year. What can they do under your number 2 of Mark Carney? And then UMass. UMass hasn't beaten an FBS team in a couple of years. They famously went 0-12 last year, and they were consistently clowned on as the worst team in college football, at least at the football bowl subdivision level. So I like the road games. They do avoid their two top teams. So, that's why it's not a 5, because it's an easier conference schedule, but some things need to happen on that roster in order to make that happen. But hey, that's why we don't play the games in spring and we don't play the games in summertime. A lot that could be figured out like in the next 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, this is definitely this is the definition of a bold prediction, because you alluded to it. Their schedule in conference isn't anything. They do avoid the two top teams according to us, Western Michigan and Miami, Ohio. Their bye week isn't until week 9, so they have to play 8 straight games, let alone they have to play 2 conference games, and then smack right in the middle of that is Northwestern. So that's not going to be easy. Sacramento State might be the might be the Super Bowl to Ball State season, just solely because it is the Ball Sack Bowl. So
true.
I mean,
you got to
yeah.
win the Ball Sack Bowl.
You mean you have to. The inaugural one, like, come on, you got to win the first one. And I have projected Ball State to win that because Sacramento State, I have one spot below them at 137. So, I mean, yeah, I think the Ball Sack Bowl is going to be the Super Bowl to Ball Sack season or Ball State's season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If it's a game that ends up randomly kicking off at like 4:00 on a Wednesday or Thursday, I mean, we might need to call off work for that. I mean, this is appointment television. The Ball Sack game, really just a pleasure having like Sacramento State in the conference for sure. But yeah, I mean, there is a path. You know, I like their schedule. It's just I don't know if they have the talent on the roster to take advantage of the fact that they have a navigable path. And as a program, I'm not super high on them as a program as well. But Mike Yurovich, who actually does follow the channel as well, can prove me wrong, and I'm sure it's going to be clipped in the Ball State facilities.
Yep.
If he's watching right now. So I mean, nothing bad to say about their coaching staff. I'm sure there's a nice group of people, and they know what they're doing from an X's and O's standpoint. Just compared to the other teams, you know, it might be a bigger hill to climb.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But those two bold takes that we just listed off, I think this next one is probably going to be the hottest one of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from Greg Halfley. I'm sure we know Greg from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Turns out he's on Twitter nowadays talking about college football. Who would have thought it? I would have thought that when I was reading through the Diary of the Wimpy Kids. Never got that vibe, but here he is on Twitter. What can I say? He mentions that not only will two G5s make the playoffs again, but one of them is going to win a game. So I'm going to go ahead and just disregard the second part of the statement.
Okay.
And I'm just going to focus on the first part for right now. So the first part of the statement, the two G5s making the playoffs, it's 5 stars for me. And it's not that I think that there's multiple teams in the G5 that I think are capable. I think Boise State, I talked about them when I was over on your show, Reed. I think they're the favorite to be the primary G5 representative. I think James Madison can still have a really good year. UNLV could have a opportunity to possibly run the table. I think they have a 12-0 ceiling as a program themselves.
For sure.
So I see a path for multiple G5s to be 11-1 and 12-0. But the reason why I have this 5 stars, unquestionably, is because of the fact that we did have a rules change.
Yeah.
If it was this time last year, this would be a little bit of a lower rating for me because I'm looking at last year and I see if there's chaos in the G5 teams, they get a signature win against a power conference team early on in the year. They handle business in conference play. It can happen, but they changed the rules up to going from, okay, the top 5 conference champions, regardless of where you come from, automatically gets into the playoff. They've now changed it to, okay, the power conference guys, if you win your power conference, regardless of what you did throughout the regular season, Duke, I'm looking at you, you're going to be in the college football playoff. So if that rule set was in for this year, 8-5 Duke. 8-5 Duke is going to be in the college football playoff. That's blasphemy. I think that's absolutely insane, but that's what they decided to do. So that's why it's 5 stars, because that was the easiest path for a G5 to get in. Now, not only you still have that G5 auto bid, but then at the same time, you need another G5 to get in as an at-large. Yeah. So you're probably looking at need 2 G5s to go undefeated. And then you need some,
you'd have to.
Yeah, and you're going to need some chaos to the point where you exhaust all the 10-2 teams from the power conferences. Because I think if you do get a 12-0 G5 versus a 9-3 team from a power conference, I do think that the 12-0 team should get in. Mm-hmm. Not because of strength of schedule, but because you are able to win all of your games. Imagine that. What a concept, being rewarded for winning the games in front of you, because that's incredibly hard to do regardless of strength of schedule. I know we had this conversation last year with James Madison where their strength of schedule is almost in the hundreds, but look at all the other teams that were in the hundreds. They weren't doing what James Madison was doing. They were a great football team and they proved it. They put a 30 bomb on Oregon.
Yeah.
You know, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's a 5. But I mean, I'm curious to hear like if you're feeling the same way as well. I just had to get that off my chest as G5 Jake, of course.
Yeah, I think initially I'm gonna go 4.5 here, just solely because I mean I'm not gonna beat the cat while it's down like you already did, but I mean the ACC, let alone their blasphemy of a tiebreaker system last season, they changed their tiebreaker system going into this season. So now it's head-to-head win percentage, head-to-head sweep, common game. Like they completely changed around the format of their tiebreaker system. So hopefully we don't end up in that situation again where a 5-loss team wins the conference, but I digress. I think it's a 4.5 just solely because there could potentially be multiple teams that do finish undefeated. Like there's a couple of teams I have in my projections that have a ceiling of an undefeated regular season. Like USF is one, UTSA is one, Miami of Ohio is one. I mean, but we're also basing this off strength of schedule. But to your point, if you do finish undefeated, regardless of strength of schedule, a team should be rewarded for that. Boise State, I have as a projected ceiling as undefeated. So, I mean, there's a handful of teams that realistically could go undefeated in the regular season, but would the committee even consider them just solely because of that strength of schedule? Like, for example, like Miami of Ohio, for this example, they play a MAC schedule. The MAC is, no shame to the MAC. We just talked about them, but I mean, strength of schedule, top to bottom, they're not going to be, rated as highly as say like the American, for example. I think the committee would value the American strength of schedule versus the MAC. So, I think from that perspective, it would be tough for the committee to do that again, just solely because also of the backlash that they got from it. All props to JMU for putting up 30 against Oregon at Autzen, let alone, the fact of that. So, I think the committee and the backlash that they got publicly for that, I think they wouldn't even go down that direction again. Now, it does hurt my soul a little bit because the G5 is the pride of the sport. Let's be honest. Like we love midweek action and everything like that. So, I'm going to go with the 4.5 here, just solely because I don't think it's out of the question that multiple teams could possibly go undefeated in the regular season. I think it's more of would the committee even consider multiple undefeated G5 teams?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it shouldn't be like that where we take a look at past results from previous years. I don't think that should dictate what your field and what your criteria should be for this coming year. And I mean, you mentioned it on the head. I mean, it's not like what we were talking about a few years ago where there was still a 4-team playoff in place. We're talking about a 12-team playoff. I can be more understanding of G5 being ultimately left out if that G5 doesn't have that signature win in spite of finishing undefeated and not be ranked top 5 in the country. That's completely fair. I don't think anyone is sitting there and doing, hey, let's rank the teams based solely on record. Where no one is advocating for that. Anyone that is making a good faith argument is not going to argue that a 12-0 team, regardless of conference, should be ranked number 1. It should be more nuanced than that. But we're talking about a 12-team playoff moving forward, right? And we're talking about that playoff possibly being expanded in the future. If we can't find a 12-0 G5 team, we can't make room for them in a 12-team playoff, then what truly are we doing now? That the chances of multiple G5s finishing undefeated, no, that's pretty low, and that's another reason why I had this as a 5-star prediction, right? But yeah, at the same time, I think if you finish undefeated, you should be able to have the opportunity to compete for our national championship, regardless of what conference you come from. Because when we're deciding playoff spots before the season starts based on a conference patch, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, again, I'm just going to quickly touch on the second part. One of them to win a game, you're most likely betting on the fact that they would have to go on the road to one of the toughest environments in the country. I mean, we saw JMU do it. They went to Oregon. Tulane went to Ole Miss. Now Ole Miss, I don't know. I've never been to Oxford, so I can't talk about it from a personal standpoint, but I wouldn't consider Oxford, Mississippi to be one of the like cream of the crop environments in the country, but I'm not downplaying that. So, but I mean, realistically, that by itself is a 5, in my opinion. Like,
And it's not just even like a G5, like going and beating a top 5 team. If it was just your power conference team, see it at number 12, you're still asking that team to go play a top 5 team in the country and win on the road. That, like, even if it was doesn't matter if you're an SEC team, a Big 12 team, whatever, that's really hard to do. So, I mean, like you said, Reed, like a G5 doing that. I mean, that's any team that's number 12 seeded is going to have a hard time beating a 5 seeded team on the road.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I have my own opinion about, the G5 in their consideration in the playoff. But I mean, I'm not trying to take up too much of our time tonight. I have my own opinions on it. But yeah, I think, 4.5 for the first part, because I don't see it be too impossible that there be multiple undefeated G5 teams. But the second half, one of them to go on the road and win. Wow, thank you, AT, for reminding everyone of that information. Yeah, a G5 team to go on the road, that's a 5. To win it, I mean, that's a hard feat.
Yeah, so I'm just really disappointed in the rules changes, and don't even get me started on the Notre Dame rule change. I mean, I could probably rant for another I could probably rant for another 15 to 20 minutes about the rule change, but it's not about Notre Dame tonight. We are talking about your guys's bold predictions. Always excited to interact with the people. So I'm curious to see what's next for us on the docket, and it comes from Big Ten Beyond.
Shout out.
He has a hot take for this year, so I'm going to focus on the second one first. So a Big Ten team will win the national championship for the 4th consecutive year. This one is a little bit on the cooler side for me. I have 2.5 stars for it. It's really hard to win a national championship, but they do have a few premium national contenders: Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. I think those 3 teams, I think there's an expectation to make the playoff. And then you're also talking about Michigan or Penn State, at least for me. We're expecting them to be in the conversation as well. And then once you get into the playoff, it's fair game for anyone at that point. Yeah. So it's not as hot of a take for me, but I don't have a Big Ten team winning the national title. I actually, we were just ranting about Notre Dame for a quick second. I actually do have Notre Dame winning the national title right now for me. But the idea of another Big Ten team winning this national title between those 3 and, Penn State and Michigan having enough talent hypothetically on their roster to make a run if they can get in as well. It's not a crazy hot take at all.
No, this isn't as crazy as the ones we've already seen tonight. I probably would put this at a 2, a 2 out of 5. I mean, shoot, the Big Ten has already won 3 straight national championships. Let alone the SEC just had one that went almost 3 in a row in Georgia. So also Colton, the fact he had to group Nebraska right there in the middle of that comment is blasphemy. Anyway, I think there's some. I mean, aside from the top 3 you mentioned, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, I think there's a couple teams on that 1B rung, if you will, that I wouldn't put it past them to at least be in the conversation. Michigan for sure. I think Kyle Whittingham is definitely going to get them back in contention. USC, a lot of people are high on them. I don't personally think this is their year. I think next season is going to be their year, but I think they could take another huge step forward with Lincoln Riley. That recruiting class, I mean, obviously they had finished with the top recruiting class in this past cycle. That's why I think next season is really going to be their shot, especially with a lot of turnover with those top 3 teams. Ohio State's probably going to lose their starting quarterback and their best receiver. They already had tons of turnover on the defense, so who knows if that happens again after this next season. Oregon is going to move on from Dante Moore to Dylan Raiola. Who knows what happens there? Also, turnover at both coordinator positions, so who knows how that pans out in the long future. Indiana is going through overturn of roster, but I mean, I mean, I fully trust Kurt Cignetti to get that squad ready to go based off what we've seen. So Michigan, I expect to be in that conversation. USC potentially slightly. I'm not going to be outlandish and put Penn State up there just yet. I think they're on the cusp of just being in the playoff. I don't think they're anywhere near being in that national title contention. And I think Washington. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put Washington. I'm not going to put Washington out of the realm of possibility just solely because I think Damon Williams is a very capable quarterback to be able to carry a team like that to, a great height. Now, whether they rebound after the complete drama that they had in the offseason, that is still yet to be seen. But I wouldn't put Washington out of the realm of possibility either. Yeah, thanks, Colton. Yeah. Yeah, laugh at me all you want. Yeah, you put Nebraska. Okay, buddy.
but no, I think you make some really valid points. Like Washington, can you imagine a home playoff game like in Seattle, Washington, with that kind of environment? I mean,
yeah.
When we talk about some intimidating home environments to go into, Washington doesn't get mentioned very much, but man, with the way that stadium is designed and how emphatic and passionate that fan base is out there in the Pacific Northwest, it's up there. I wouldn't say it's at the same level as an Autzen out in Eugene, but man, it's you're really looking at that stadium. That's an intimidating place to go in and win. That's especially if they get the Devin Williams drama set to the side for a second. With him basically having to sue to get him to stay at the University of Washington. But yeah, I mean, I see like at least 3 playoff teams there, and those 3 playoff teams are going to be very highly regarded. Ohio State is right now betting odds favorite to win the national championship. It may not be mine, but I mean, Ohio State is up there. Indiana right now is at number 4, and then Oregon is tied for 5th. So I mean, that's 3 teams from the Big Ten right there that are going to be in your top 5. So not a lock and not a guarantee that I think it's going to happen. But I do think, and going into the first part of his hot take, 5 Big Ten teams to finish with 10 wins. To be honest with you, like that's a 1 star for me. I think that's happening in the 2026 campaign. I really do. We talked about with the premier contenders in Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State. Obviously, I think they finished with 10 wins. I have Penn State and Michigan winning with 10 wins as well. I think the fact that they have an actual adult as their head coach for Michigan is going to do wonders for their program, because let's be honest, Sharon Moore, he was holding this program back for a couple of years. So now you have an actual adult in the room, even though Winningham might not be there for super long. And I caught it in the in our live chat right now talking about Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa, we know what they're going to be defensively. Don't know what the offense is going to be like, but defensively, their defense is so good that they're going to be competitive in all their games. So I have a world where Iowa does finish undefeated if they have just not even a good or great offense. If the offense is just average, if the passing attack has a pulse like it did last year, Iowa's going to be a very dangerous football team to have to deal with on a week in and week out basis. So, Iowa could also finish they have the capability of finishing with 10 wins. USC's up there. There's a countless number of teams in this conference where if things go right, they can win 10 games.
And shout out to our trooper in the chat, because Iowa was actually a team I was going to bring up. Let's not forget that they finished 8-4 last season. Their 4 losses were all by 1 score.
Yeah, and they were all to ranked opponents too.
Yeah. They hypothetically could have been an undefeated team.
Yeah, they really
they had Indiana on the ropes. They had Oregon on the ropes. I mean, yeah, and let's not forget that. So I think I was pulling up my record standings as of right now. I have at least 3 teams at the moment finishing with 10 plus wins. That's Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. And then the 3 right on the cusp: Washington, Penn State, and Iowa, all at 9-3 with a couple of swing games to potentially go to 10-2 or better. So, Iowa does get the benefit. I pulled up their schedule. They do get the benefit of Ohio State at home. Their 2 main road tests at Michigan and at Washington. So those aren't going to be easy feats for Iowa to overcome. But I mean, if they swing one of those, they're a 10-win team.
Yeah.
in my eyes. So
Yeah, because I do have them losing to Ohio State. I have them losing
Yep.
like on the road to Washington. And then there was one other game, the Michigan game on the road. I have them losing those 3 games.
yeah, same.
But I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, it's not games where you're looking at like, oh, Iowa's going to be blown out. You know, there's not
Yeah.
that type of game on their schedule. So I do want to point that out. Plus, like you mentioned about last year, I mean, Iowa really should have won that Oregon game last year. Let's be so real with ourselves last year. They needed some last minute heroics from Dante Moore to be able to pull that one off. So, I mean, I just wanted to mention that part like out loud. But yeah, I mean, 5 Big Ten teams finishing with 10 wins or better, like that's so cold. You know, I thought I was sitting in the Arctic. You know, I thought my wife turned down the air conditioning in my house. You know, so it's a lot.
I would also put that as a 1. I would also put that as a 1. Just as of right now, I mean, we just listed 6 teams potentially. 6 teams that could potentially finish with 10 wins. And just solely because Billy Tuesday in the chat asked who their quarterback is going to be. So they're going through a quarterback battle right now between Hank Brown and Jeremy Hecklinski. I haven't kept up with Iowa spring camp so far, so I don't know who really is in the favor to win that. I would probably guess Hank Brown, just solely because, I mean, just looking off just his numbers. I mean, he's listed at 6'4", 215 versus a 5'11", 188 Jeremy Hecklinski, a junior versus a sophomore as well. So he has more. That's great.
But yeah, that's actually incredible. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a great comment. Yeah. That's
oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine. Like I don't think either of them is going to be like a Gronkowski that we saw last year. I mean, Mark Gronkowski, he was so fun to watch, especially in the bowl game against Vanderbilt for his final college game. And I'm wishing him the best of luck in his future endeavor. But I mean, if Iowa just has a pulse offensively, and they have a passing attack that you would see at least resembles a 21st century passing attack, you know, Iowa could be a dangerous football team. Only
sure.
But yeah, let's move on. We do have one more hot take, at least for tonight's bold predictions. We might be able to go ahead and what is this?
I mean, do we really think this man is going to be the starting quarterback for Iowa? Like, let's just be fully transparent real quick. I mean, it's Jeremy Hecklinski or Hank. I mean, I'm going with the locks.
Yeah.
I'm going with the locks, dude. Like, what are we talking about? They both haven't really played, to answer your question. I mean, this is a true quarterback battle. So shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. What an all-time like comment in the live chat. That's what the live shows are for, man. Crazy work. I would have never thought about that. At least not today.
Capital of Finland.
Yeah,
that's great.
We hey, really appreciate you guys coming through on the stream tonight. We do have one more bold take. If you guys been enjoying tonight's live show, man, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. And for heaven's sake, make sure you check out his content as well. Like his socials is listed right under his name on Twitter, and he's on YouTube as well. TikTok as well. You know, I've seen him on TikTok while scrolling on the For You page. Something that I told him about a couple of days ago, like in our group chat. Don't need to
undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. You know, in the red zone bunker, so to speak. Right. Let's just put it like that. Let's see what that last hot take is. And it does come from CSG Virginia. Virginia goes undefeated in the regular season. So Virginia made the ACC title game.
They did.
And I think we forget about that often, because when we talk about the ACC last year, we talk about Duke's insane run, somehow getting it in at 7-5, winning the AC title. They did finish strong. They won their bowl game too against Arizona State, but Virginia was overshadowed quite a bit. They won double-digit games last year. They won their bowl game, I believe it was against Missouri. Didn't win the ACC title, but it was an incredible year for that Virginia staff. And it was also the type of year that saved some jobs. If we're being honest with ourselves. Now, I had this at 3 stars because I do see a world where this team does finish undefeated this year. Because I look at their schedule and there's no games on their schedule where I look at them, this Virginia football team, and I'm thinking to myself, man, they're going to get their butt kicked at this particular game. I don't see that game. But why maybe I'm a little bit more skeptical than the idea of, the Big Ten winning a national championship for the 4th year in a row, or, even what we talked about even more recently, 5 Big Ten teams winning 10 games, is I do think that this Virginia team is going to take a step back because you look at Virginia, they had the benefit of some swing games that went in their direction. And I do think that there is that possibility of you see Virginia kind of return to regression to the mean, not to the point where there's a complete collapse by any means, but maybe not being as lucky as what Virginia was this time last year. So I actually had Virginia finishing 7-5. But I still look at the schedule and I'm thinking to myself, hey, they could absolutely win every single game on their schedule, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you talked about a schedule full of swing games. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 swing games on the schedule for Virginia. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility. They could. There is some world that they do finish undefeated with the schedule. NC State's a swing game. At West Virginia, I would have as a swing game just so because Morgantown is a tough place to play. Florida State on the road is a swing game. At SMU is a swing game. At home to Cal in September, or not in September, in November, excuse me. I would have that as a swing game. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's some world they could finish undefeated, but I mean, they have the benefit of not having a West Coast trip. That's good. The furthest they go is Texas and SMU. So, I currently have Virginia at 9-3. Florida State, SMU, and Virginia Tech being their 3 losses. So I think there's a little bit of regression from last season, but I don't think to the point of 7-5. I mean, again, as I said, there's plenty of swing games on this schedule for Virginia to go through. But I'm gonna put this at a 4, just so because there is a world that this could happen, as we've both said, but I don't think it is in the realistic scheme of things. So I'm gonna put this at a 4. But I'm excited to see Beau Pribula, see what he can do in this Virginia offense.
Or like Eli Holstein. Eli Holstein also transferred to from Pitt, after losing to Mason Heischel, four-star true freshman who ended up taking the starting job and never looked back afterwards. And he's not terrible by any means either. So I think Beau Pribula is the favorite, but it's not a cookie cutter. He's going to win the starting job because the best availability, the best trades availability, and Beau Pribula does have those injury issues from last year. So we'll have to wait and see just what happens with that quarterback position. Do think Brian Pribula is going to win the job, but not guaranteed by any means. I mean, they do have a couple of tough road games. I mean, Florida State on the road, but I look at Florida State, and it's just a matter of how invested is the fan base at that point, because with how the incredible high that we saw from Florida State last year when they beat Alabama at the beginning of the season, and then not even so much as making it to a bowl game. We're not talking about collapsing to the point where they're not competitive for like ACC title. They missed the bowl game entirely. So when that stadium is packed and the fans are invested, that's a hard place to play in. But if Florida State gets a slow start to the season and then Virginia jumps on them early, that can turn into a pretty toxic environment very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to a similar situation last season when Pitt went to Florida State and got a win on the road. I wasn't one of the people backing Pitt at that moment, but that was one of Mason Heichel's first games, and he went on the road to beat Florida State. So
I mean, props to Pitt and winning that game. But I mean, exactly to your point, what is Florida State going to be at that point in the season? I mean, I have them losing their first 2 games of the season. Their fan base could be out after week 3. Like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, we're not talking about Florida State. This is a Virginia question, but I mean, that's easily a game Virginia could win just solely because that fan base might be out by the time that game happens.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Florida State's schedule. I know this is more geared towards Virginia, but I mean, even the first 3 games, if they get out 1-2 and they look lethargic against Central Arkansas, we could be talking about a situation where Mike Norvell is fired in the middle of the year. That could genuinely happen, and it could happen before the Virginia game if September just goes completely awry, right? But the other game that I am looking at for Virginia's sake, though, that road game against Virginia Tech, that one actually could be their most difficult road game. I think we've all seen Enter Sandman. I think for James Franklin is going to get Virginia Tech back to what it was prior to Frank Beamer retiring. Because Virginia Tech just has not been the same since he's retired and left that head coaching post. That is the opposite of Florida State. Florida State has some fair weather fans in their fan base. Virginia Tech is not that at all. Even when they were dog water last year, that fan base showed up. They were loud. Enter Sandman is an incredible intro, one of the best intros in college football, I would say. That one, and it's a rivalry game too. So, that's not going to be like an easy one to go on the road and win to end the year, but potential pressure of going undefeated if you're 11-0 at that point.
Yeah, the pressure if you are undefeated at that point, and I have these teams basically neck and neck. I have Virginia Tech at 33 and Virginia at 36. So these teams I see right neck and neck with each other at the moment. Virginia Tech would be a 5-point favorite at home. So it would be tough. It would be tough for Virginia, just solely based on the 2 games that we point out at Florida State and at Virginia Tech are 2 of the biggest swing games on the schedule. So, again, I'm going to put this at a 4 for now, but there is a realm of possibility that this potentially could happen.
Yeah, man. But that just about wraps up the the bold predictions that we initially saw on the over on Twitter. Didn't give that initial chance here on YouTube as well. And I know some of you have been putting some takes in the live chat. So let me do this for those of you that are watching live on YouTube right now. If you do have a hot take that you genuinely believe could happen, that you're willing to put money on from your own FanDuel account, definitely let us know either in the comments section if you're watching this after the fact, or if you are watching the live show right now. Definitely leave a chat in the live chat out. That came out a lot weirder than it needed to be, but Mondays, am I right?
Yes.
But before I sign off, I know you're a man that has many takes. So I guess what I'm curious, as we get ready to wrap up the show tonight, what's the hottest take that you have going into this season that you think is going to happen and you're willing to throw some money down on FanDuel to make it happen?
Yeah, so I know I responded to the initial call that you put out on Twitter with a couple of my hot takes. I'm going to save those for another show if we get into those. One that I actually might be a bold prediction, but I did actually back up with my own money. I have a Heisman ticket on Ahmad Hardy to win the Heisman Trophy. I can't remember the odds I got it at. I can pull it up real quick as we speak, but that is probably the boldest prediction that I've actually backed up with my own money. So I have a ticket on Ahmad Hardy to win the Heisman.
And listen, I love watching Ahmad Hardy play football last year, man.
He's awesome.
How that man was so under-recruited coming out of high school is completely just scouting malpractice, especially, him as a true freshman, because mind you, most true freshmen are not ready to play college football right away. Most kids, they need a year or two in a weight room before they see consistent playing time on the field. But Ahmad Hardy at UL Monroe, his freshman year, a couple of years ago, that's a special season. And that was a big reason why UL Monroe almost made it to a bowl game, which is another achievement. And look at that. We got a UOM mention on the podcast here tonight. So you love to see that.
Yes.
So
yeah, the odds I got on that were plus 10,000, by the way. So
hey, so if Ahmad Hardy
I don't know.
pulls up a like an Ashton Jenny level season and Missouri is playing in the SEC title, that we're talking about a like vacation with the significant other like type of money, man. Like that's
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're taking the missus on a vacation. That's what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You already know what time it is. You're gonna be like flexing the dollar bills on the sleeve, you know.
Yeah. I'm gonna slide it down my arm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, like since we're throwing out some hotter takes, don't know how hot of a take this is. So I talked about how I think there's 5 SEC teams that I think do make the college football playoff, but I don't think that the SEC teams are going to beat a single non-SEC team in the college football playoff this year. So I think 5 SEC teams get in. Yeah. And there's probably, because a number of SEC teams get in, you'll probably see an SEC on SEC matchup. But then outside of that, I think the SEC teams all get bounced. One and done.
So you're a backer of the Big Ten wins the national championship?
I believe that the Big Ten will get closer this year to winning a national title than the SEC will.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that hot of a take, I feel like, because I mean, we literally saw this last season. Ole Miss and Georgia played. Ole Miss advances to play Miami, and then they drop it against Miami. I feel like that. I mean, they didn't get that close. I mean, like the semifinal, but like I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's not that hot of a take. Like if I had to put a ranking on it, I feel like that's a 1.5, a 2. Like I feel like that's not that crazy.
Yeah, I probably have like other like takes that I don't consider to be as hot, but as soon as I say them out loud, you're probably either you or Colton or like AT that are watching from the chat tonight are going to think is blasphemy. But that when it comes to, I guess, bold prediction, that's the first one that comes to my mind. But I'm sure there's others that I'm going to mention, either like in the individual series or like either like doing this with you guys, where I'm going to say something. And you're going to have to step back in your chair for a second.
Colorado goes 1-11.
You know what? I actually don't think that's very crazy. Did you see?
Right, cool.
Yeah, because like, did you? I watched them. Some of their like their springs. They look small.
That video of them running out.
That's not a good look.
No, I mean, okay. All right. Let me put some context here. That was like the quarterback and centers group running out for the warm up of the spring game. So let me put context to that. But I'm not against it. I mean, they did look small in that video.
Yeah, it's like they have like I think almost a dozen guys on their roster that were like under 200 pounds of like soaking less. Where Penn State, for example, like for context, they only have a couple of those guys. On their roster. That's not like the kicker or the punter. Like the kicker and the punter being that small. That's one thing. Their job is to kick a ball and eventually, got to pull a Pat McAfee, lay some lumber as the last line of defense, right? But we're talking about actual skill position guys. Being that small, and it's more than just a couple of them. That's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Feel happy, AT. Mississippi State finished with a better record than Colorado, so let's go.
Yeah, there we go. Not on the bottom of the Power 4. Hang the batter.
Hang the banner.
Right. Well, we're gonna get ready to sign off here tonight, man. Really appreciate you guys sitting back and listening to bold predictions. There's more where that came from. I did not completely empty out the chamber, so there will be more bold predictions coming out this time next week. But for now, I'm getting ready to sign off. Reed, thank you so much, man, for joining me here on the show. It means a lot to me to have one of my favorite co-hosts on the show. But with that, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hope you guys are all out there having a good night. Take care.